Hi, I'm Henry, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how you can use our AI grading tool to perform a reading comprehension check. So for this demonstration, the example is going to be an assignment, a reading assignment from Othello. So let's say I've assigned my students to read Act 2, Scene 3 from Othello, and I've asked them to write a one-paragraph summary of Act 2 and Scene 3. And my goal here is to check which of my students have done the reading, and if they've done the reading, how well have they understood what happened in this chapter. So let's get started by going into with Leo. And so you can see I'm logged in, I'm in my dashboard. I'm going to click on Create Assignment. That'll take me to this page. And for this, we're going to do grading because I'm going to add some criteria points that I want to check for a student's comprehension. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So I click on grading, and I'll call this Othello Reading Act 2, Scene 3, Comprehension Check. And here it asks me to create the assignment structure. So provide the assignment structure by adding questions, sub-questions, or sub-sub-questions. Don't worry, you can describe each question in the next step. For now, just create the structure of the assignment. So this is just asking me to, again, just lay out the number of questions that are in the assignment. Some questions might have sub-questions where I can click on add sub-question, and it'll create a sub-question here, and it can go a layer deeper as well. So a sub-question if the assignment warrants this. But in our case, we're just doing in our case we just have one question, which is write a paragraph about Act 2, Scene 3. So I'll just leave it at one question there. I'll click on next. And in the next step, it'll ask me to create the criteria. And what I'll do here is I can add a bunch of points, key sort of events from this chapter that the student should probably mention in their summary. So I've done a little preparation here, and I have the criteria prepared, so I'll just type them out. The first criteria is student mentions that Othello leaves the festival with Desdemona and entrusts Cassio with safeguarding. And so for a quick summary of this chapter, well, actually, as I type out the criteria, you'll get the summary anyways. The second criteria, let's say it's student mentions that Iago convinces Cassio to drink. The third one is student mentions that Iago reveals to the audience his plan to get Cassio drunk after Cassio exits. Criteria 4 is student mentions that Cassio gets drunk and attacks Montano. Criteria 5 is Othello investigates the commotion and fires Cassio. And then finally, the last criteria is Iago convinces Cassio to seek Desdemona for help and reveals to the audience his plan to sow suspicion in the mind of Othello. So as you can see, what I've done here is I've created 6 criteria points that represent sort of the 6 most important events that happened in Act 2, Scene 3, Othello, that in a good summary of this scene, a student should probably mention. And for each of them, you can assign a number of points, so up to whatever number of points you'd like, but I'll just assign each criteria point 1 point. There you go. And that's the criteria. I'll click Create Assignment, and that's going to save it to the database, and the next step will be to upload submissions. Great. I prepared 2 example submissions here. So this is student B, and this is student A. So there's 2 different example paragraphs of the assignment, and suppose I'm using Google Classroom. what I can do is I can click on import from Google Classroom, and I can import from that class. In my case, I called it Physics 10, but it should probably be called English 10. And this is the assignment that I created in my Google Classroom. So Othello Act 2 Scene 3 summary, and I can import those two submissions that I just mentioned. And if you don't use Google Classroom, you can also upload files directly. So the program can take PDF, Word documents, as well as TXT files. So there you have it. These are the two submissions, and they're both ready to grade. And you can just come over here and click Grade All. And so this grading will probably take about 30 seconds. And so I'm going to skip forward a little bit until this is done, and I'll show you what the results look like. Okay, great. So it looks like it finished grading. And if you click on, so you can see from a high level, the grades that each of the submissions got, or the grades that the AI assigned to each of the submissions. And if you have a class of 20, 30, obviously you'll have a lot more submissions here, but just for the sake of demonstration, I put in 2. If you click on those items, it'll take you to a page that shows you the criteria, and it'll give you some more details on the decisions that the AI grading algorithm made. So you can see question 1 here, these are the 6 criteria that we inputted, and in this case, the AI decided to assign 4 out of 6. So these 4 were the criteria that the student satisfied. These 2 were the criteria that the student failed to satisfy. And if you look at the example, this is that assignment, you can see that the AI graded correctly. In this case, the student fails to mention that Othello leaves the festival with Desdemona, and the student also fails to mention that Iago reveals to his audience his plan to get Cassio drunk. So this is graded correctly. If I go back, I can click on the other one. This was the really good submission. If I show you the submission here, you can see that the submission is a lot more in-depth and detailed, and the student spent considerably more effort in explaining what happened in this scene. And you can see that the grading reflects this. So in this scenario, the algorithm decided to assign 6 out of 6, and it met all 6 of the criteria points. And so this is kind of a fast way that you can perform a reading comprehension check in your class. Some teachers might like to ask students to perform a short writing at the beginning of class, 5 to 10 minutes perhaps. And if you have students submit it to a Google Classroom, you can import it here very easily, or you can upload it directly, run that grade all button, and get a high-level view of each student's understanding of the reading assignment. So there you have it. Let me know what you think. Thank you.